Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimbaloe in Abuja. Tonight, we begin to our conversation on what has become another milestone in governance in Nigeria, especially in the judiciary. What perhaps do not happen every day has happened. Let's get started first and foremost by telling you what happened in Imo State, where the police today has paraded some suspect alleged to have killed former political advisor to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Mr. Ahmed Goodluck. Police authorities in Imo State say they have arrested one of the suspected killers of the chieftain of the APC. The suspect, identified as Anasike Chimaobi from Ahiasu Mbise local government area of Imo State, was apprehended 1 year after Goodluck's death. Goodluck, a former aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, was murdered by a group of armed men on the 30th of May 2021 during a visit to Imo State. He was reportedly trailed from his hotel room to the spot where he was killed around Umueze, Obiangu in Ingo Okpala local government area close to the Sam Mbakwe Airport Road in Owerri. So much to talk about. Now, when a top chieftain like that is murdered, what could have led to his death or the murder? Because in a confessional statement, there are conversations as to politicians, top politicians visiting these criminals in their den. What could be happening in this country? We get to the bottom of that matter tonight, and we discuss as much as the facts that have emerged from the confessional statement that has been released to the police today. But first and foremost is the fact that new CJN has emerged. Acting CJN, that is Justice Ariwoola. Who is Justice Ariwoola? 62-year-old Justice of the Supreme Court will be taking over from Justice Tanko Muhammad. Justice Tanko Muhammad did not naturally get out of office. He resigned. Something that doesn't happen every day in the judiciary. There you go. That is Justice Kayode Ariwoola's profile on the screen. We get details of that much more in the program. But let's come back now and take a look at some of your political roundup stories, because you need to be updated right now.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says it is confident that the 2023 general elections will be credible and only the choice of the electorate will count. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this when he received the United Nations Special Representative to West Africa in Abuja.
We have very good working relationship with our strategic partners and allies in the country. We work very closely with the political parties, with civil society organizations, with media, with the security agencies in the country.
The leadership of the Council of Legal Education and the Nigerian Law School have commended the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike's efforts in providing a world-class infrastructure for the promotion of LVL education in the country. The chairman of the council, Emeka Ngige, and Director General of the Law School, Issa Chiroma, said this in Port Harcourt after undertaking a tour of the Port Harcourt campus of the Nigerian Law School being constructed by Governor Nyesom Wike. A factional presidential candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Chief Chekwas Okorie, is calling on Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra State to urgently intervene and save the party from what he has described as double jeopardy in 2023. Chief Okorie, who maintains that APGA may end up not having a presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections owing to the lingering leadership tussle in the party, which has resulted in the emergence of two presidential candidates. Chief Okorie maintains that APGA may end up not having a presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections owing to the lingering leadership tussle in the party, which has resulted in the emergence of two presidential candidates. The governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yahaya Bello, is asking youths, women and supporters of the All Progressives Congress to ensure that they deliver the party's candidate, Senator Bola Tinubu, as the next president of the country. All other candidates vying for various positions under the party in the forthcoming general elections. The governor made a call while addressing party faithful at the Government House, Lokoja, during a reception organized in his honor after the APC presidential primary election, which he contested and lost. The national chairman of the Young Progressives Party, Bishop Amakiri, said the Young Progressives can change the narrative of poor infrastructure and enhancing good governance for the people of Abia State. He made this declaration in Aba while unveiling YPP governorship candidate Mr. Enyi Nyanwafo and his deputy Chimanyaso, as well as Senate and House of Representatives flag bearers. And ahead of the 2023 general elections, a coalition of Southern Kaduna young professionals has staged a peaceful protest over the exclusion of youths and women as governorship candidates and running mates by the various political parties. The group is making a demand on political parties to pick young people as running mates for their respective governorship positions as a way of complementing the yearnings of the younger generation of Nigerians.
Thank you so much, everyone. Now, Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Muhammad, has resigned. Well, that is as much as we know. Some of the stories and the sources are telling us that he resigned due to ill health. There are other issues that have been tied to his resignation as far as the judiciary and the stories flying around is concerned. But tonight, what we know, of course, and what is vivid in our eyes is that Justice Olukayode Ariwoola of the Supreme Court took the judicial oath of office as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari administered the oath of office on Justice Ariwoola during a swearing-in ceremony held at the council chamber of the presidential villa in Abuja and the nation's capital. Justice Ariwoola, 64 years old, took over from the outgone CJN, Justice Tanko Muhammad, is expected to serve in an acting capacity till further confirmation by the National Judicial Council. While taking the judicial oath, he swore to be faithful and bear true allegiance to the federal government of Nigeria, as well as defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The CJN is a chairman of the Nigerian Judiciary and will spearhead the Supreme Court as well as oversee the Nigerian Judiciary. Take a listen to himself and President Muhammadu Buhari. We get to listen to the soundbite from that event in a moment. Again, I'd like to show you who and what you'll be getting as far as the new acting CJN is concerned. Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, of course, known to be born 1958, 64 years of age, will be taking over from Justice Tanko Muhammad. What does this mean? This is coming on the heels of the protest from justices of the Supreme Court who alleged the situation within the Supreme Court and how the Supreme Court is being administered under Justice Tanko Muhammad. What will change now that we have Justice Ariwoola? All right, let's get talking. We can only get to talk about this matter of how the implication and the significance of Justice Ariwoola's swearing in is just a few hours after Justice Tanko Muhammad's resignation came to light, that he was sworn in as far as the law is concerned. Let's look at the implication. We can only do that with a member of the inner bar of Nigeria, Leonard Six, senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Jibril Okutepa, who joins us live here. Thank you so much, Mr. Okutepa, for your time.
Thank you, Shehu, for this journalistic arrest warrant. It has brought me to your studio in a manner that I'm not properly dressed. I apologize.
Don't worry, you are properly dressed before this court. And I've announced your appearance. You don't need to do that for yourself. All right, it seems to be a very interesting period in the Nigerian judiciary. The justices of the Supreme Court, we never hear them speak, except in the inner chamber of the Nigerian court. We never hear them protest. But this time around, we saw them. Now, people are tying all of those to Justice Tanko Muhammad's resignation, but the sources are telling us that it's basically on ill health. But what do you make of Justice Tanko's resignation and Justice Ariwoola's swearing in?
Well, first of all, let me congratulate my Lord, the Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, the JSC, now acting CJN of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. First, let me also congratulate His Lordship, the outgone Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko, Mohammed Ibrahim Tanko, CJN as he then was. It's unprecedented in Nigerian history for public officer to resign, even when they are chronically ill. So that His Lordship decided to resign on the basis of ill health based on what we have read, is commendable, because you can see that a lot of public office holders who are ill, who are sick, have refused to resign. So for me as a person, I must commend His Lordship for that step. Because when your health is no longer allowing you to perform the functions of your office, and it's constitutional. When you look at the provisions of the Constitution, it gives any chief judge or any chief justice of Nigeria who is having a challenge of health and who believes himself or herself not having the requisite capacity to continue in office to resign. So what my Lord Honorable Justice I.T. Mohammed had done is commendable. So I commend him. Now, the task before my Lord Honorable Justice Arewala is not only onerous, doubting, very, 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 very challenging. And I'm happy that His Lordship was one of those justices of the Supreme Court that, for what we read, complained about leadership. And now the leadership baton had been handed over to him. So what I'm expecting, therefore, from His Lordship and millions of Nigerians and lawyers is that he must, as a matter of necessity, provide impeccable, integrity-driven leadership. The leadership that it will be a kind of shining example for other judicial officers to follow. Because the Supreme Court of Nigeria, mark you, is not only a court of law, it's also a court of policy. Now, I expect my Lord Honorable Justice Areola to lead the Supreme Court, to give us judgments and decisions that have in its contents of justice. Because there are certain judgments you see that are devoid of justice. You see judgments, the justice of the matter is murdered. We are expecting the Supreme Court of Nigeria to deliver judgments that is full of contents of justice.
All right.
Number two,
Okay.
we are expecting the Supreme Court of Nigeria, under his leadership, to give judgments that will bring the unity of this country together. Not a judgment that will bring, that people will begin to interpret and create what appears to be rascality and bringing the credibility of the legal profession to total disrepute.
Because I was going to take you up on that. Now, first and foremost, you saluted the courage of my Lord Justice Tanko Mohammed for stepping down, resigning it. A lot of people will say honorable. Very unusual in this climb. People will rather stayed out until the very end and will never resign. Even though people, I mean, in the past, several years ago, people say, Justice of the Supreme Court, there are notices of dementia and all of that because of the tedious nature of their job. You have to write, you have to pen down your opinion and all of that. But that has happened. There's a controversy which stemmed from, we started a few days ago. Justices of the Supreme Court complaining about the slow pace of judgment and the judicial system in the Supreme Court and in the judiciary. These are some of the issues that came up. Around the petitions or the grievances of the justices, what do you think could have led to that? Because it's a bottled up, a lot of people say, it's a bottled up anger from the justices.
If you have read me well, I had said in my write-up when the 14 justices of the Supreme Court wrote that in this our climb, it is unusual for goats to bite, unless, of course, you push that goat to a level of irredeemable, he can no longer keep quiet, then he will bite you. Now, in your intro, you said it is unusual for judges in Nigeria to talk. And I think that their lordships who decided to do what they did must have felt the shoe they were wearing must have been so tight on their legs that they needed to put their thoughts together. And that's why I think, and I'm happy, that my Lord Justice Arewola, who was the number 2 then, and was part of the people who complained, who first of all, as a matter of priority, looked into the welfare of Nigerian judges, not only in the Supreme Court, but across the board.
But how did things get this bad? To the point, I mean, because when
Shehu,
you...
that is a question that will be difficult for me.
The legal profession is a noble profession.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, not only the legal profession, the highest ranking judges of Nigeria and the Supreme Court justices, you don't see them talk. It's unnatural for you to see them talk.
You know why
but for things to have
getting,
gotten to this point.
Do you know why things are getting to this level?
Bad? Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because there are no consequences in Nigeria. Now, let me tell you this. In other climes where we come from, once there is an appearance of impropriety, a judicial officer ceases to be a judicial officer. Once there is an appearance of impropriety, a legal practitioner will cease to be a legal practitioner. But in our clime, not only do we see appearance of impropriety and defend it, indeed we defend impropriety under the so-called concept of fundamental rights. And so everybody now in Nigeria, we engage in what I call a utopia fundamental right, to the extent that even when that right is being exercised to the detriment of the stability, peace, and tranquility of Nigeria, people still talk about fundamental rights. So the legal profession that I joined, that I love, that I became a member, was a profession of light. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, it appears to me that darkness has overtaken light in our noble profession, so much so that even those who are not reasonably fit to remain a member of this noble profession are the ones that you see, and nothing is being done. Because in our other jurisdiction where we borrow this profession from, there is a monitoring committee, a monitoring team that monitors even the processes you file. In Nigeria today, for instance, you can brief me subject to what you pay me, and I will go to court to say who is a woman. Another day, another one will pay me, and I will go to court on the same Shehu Okibaloye. I say Shehu is a man. And we do so with such an excitement of arrogance and audacity that Nigerian people look at lawyers now with no respect. That is why I think that my Lord had come to the seat of judgment at an auspicious time. We must enforce our code of ethics religiously. Both at the legal practitioner disciplinary committee must be
up to task.
Look, Shehu, our complaint base must be looked into, because in Nigeria, you may see a lawyer doing something very wrong until you pick your biro and complain and write. Those who have responsibility to discipline lawyer will say there is no complaint.
Let us say, Sam Omasaye wrote.
Yes.
He said, the ghost of Onogen. Now, if you read that piece, it's quite interesting. And you look at back-to-back allegations of corruption against the highest ranking judicial officer in the land, Justice Walter Onogen, bowed out of office in an atmosphere clouded by allegations of corruption. Now, the justices of the Supreme Court came together and wrote against a sitting CJN in like manner. I mean, because the implications are very dire for our society. Judiciary is the bastion of our democracy, is the very rock. If justice is lost, if justice is destroyed, our society is on the brim of collapse. What danger, what imminent danger are we facing?
Shehu, I have said, and I keep saying, and I've been saying it, that in Nigerian society, unfortunately, the legal profession that ought to be the light of the society, of recent, I wrote and I asked, how did we find ourselves here? Because in those days, judges were known to be men and women of Spartan lives. I'm not saying there are no judges in Nigeria that are of impeccable character. They are. But there are other few bad ones also in the legal profession. They are there. The problem is that we have Nigerianized everything in Nigeria, so much so that even the worst wrongdoer, are you with me?
Yeah.
Even the worst wrongdoer is celebrated and canonized and given all manner of praises. Now, when you want to discipline today, you are likely to hear that it is either because it's Hausa Fulani, or it's Yoruba man, or it's Igbo, and so on and so forth. So we must go back to the drawing board. Must we talk about this thing called federal character? If we should do federal character, why do we pick the third 11 instead of the first 11? If we must do federal character, why do we not look for the best to pick? Because in Nigeria, it appears to me, even in our recruitment process, Shane, are you with me?
I'm with you.
Who you know play more significant role than what you know. And until we begin to ask questions, who is this one? What has been his pedigree before you go to the bench? Because in those days, you don't apply it and beg to be made a judicial officer. Nobody lobbies for you. You appear before the judge. Their lordships assess your demeanor, your character, your mien, your comportment, your ability to act like Daniel in the Babylonian kingdom and refuse to eat the king's meat, or behaving like Joseph and run away from Potiphar's wife. Then they are saying, oh, Mr. Kutepa, come over. Tomorrow you are going to be appointed a judicial officer. It was an honor. And then nobody was pursuing money as idol. Judges were not known as people who pursue contract, who go to the airport to welcome governors and chief executive officers. Indeed, it is on record. I think Honorable Justice J.I.C. Taylor also, I can't recall, a chief judge in Lagos was invited by the military officer, military governor to come. He refused. Today, you talk about protocol. You are bringing, you are taking Chief Justice of Nigeria or Chief Judge of a state to go to government house. And when they are to give them what belongs to them, they put advertorial.
All right. In fact, so I've seen a commentary somewhere when someone was describing his opinion piece saying the hierarchy of the arms of government. As far as the CJN is concerned, that the president, and we've seen it happen, that the president shouldn't stay up. It should actually come down and swear an oath, and the CJN should not be up there, down there, and the president up there. Because now the head of the judiciary and the head of the executive should not, those disparities. But one thing that is fundamental here, the politics of appointing the next CJN, because Justice Ariwola is going to be sitting as an acting CJN. Now, there is hierarchy. Justice Ariwola is next to Justice Tanko, and he's 64 years of age. By the virtue of the time and the bench and all of that, the prerogative is still on the president to advise or to nominate to this to the NJC, then to the National Assembly. Now, what do you make of what is
if there is any arm of government that has, especially at the federal level, not of the state. In the state, you see some most senior judicial officers being sidelined and their junior brought ahead of them. Now that my Lord Honorable Justice Ariwola had been made the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria by constitutional provision, because by constitutional provision, the president has no choice. There is a vacancy, he must be appointed. Now, in the
substantive position?
No, well,
for acting, yeah.
The Constitution said the next most senior
will take over.
In acting capacity.
But in substantive position?
In substantive position.
Is at the discretion of the president to nominate?
Not really at the discretion. The president, yes, the president can nominate and appoint, but it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely that any other person other than his lordship.
Because in the hierarchy, Leonard Sikh, is after Justice Ariwola, is Justice Datijo Mohammed, then followed by Justice Kekere Ekun, followed by Justice Unweze.
Yes.
Now, one would think that naturally, Justice Ariwola should be appointed, but that's the discretion of the president to nominate
I do
to the
not-
CJN. Isn't that what the law says?
The law vests in the president somebody he feels can be Chief Justice of Nigeria and make recommendation. But why do you want to bypass my Lord Justice Ariwola? Is he suffering from many infirmities of the body or of anything? Do we have any advice report about him? Is he lacking in capacity?
So procedurally and morally, Justice Ariwola should be.
He should be the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
How long can the president take before he passes the name to the NJC?
No, I don't know of any time frame. But by virtue of constitutional provision, His Lordship can act for 3 months, renewable for another 3 months. If he is not confirmed by a constitution, then the next most senior justices of the Supreme Court then takes over from him. Until that.
All right. So now, by the Constitution provides that the Supreme Court should be composed by nothing more than 21 justices.
And they have never had a full complement of that court.
In fact, it's now worsened.
It's worse.
Justice Rose Vival has retired.
Yes.
Justice Mary
At the material time that my Lord retired, there were 15.
Yes.
Now they are 14.
They are 14.
Including my Lord Honorable Justice Ariwola.
So
and few will soon go.
Absolutely.
And I have said, these men and women of noble character and virtues sitting in the Supreme Court under most unhygienic environment have a lot of cases coming from all over Nigeria.
Do you know? Lacking legal assistance.
Lacking legal assistance, lacking diesels, lacking good working environment. You need to go to Supreme Court and see the chambers of their lordships and travel to other climes and see the chambers of magistrates in other jurisdictions outside of this country. I have said, and I am saying here, that the Nigerian judiciary has been rendered a slave to the executive and the legislature.
Is it true, the commentary that said...
And let me say this, because you say something. I did not see why my Lord Honorable, any of the Chief Judges of Nigeria, or any Chief Justice of Nigeria should go to Doda Barrack or Aso Rock to be sworn in. Is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria a commissioner of oath? We have not looked at the legality of this.
So usually,
any of the justices
it should have been done at the Supreme Court.
At the Supreme Court. Have you ever seen the Senate President be sworn in by the President
and the Council chamber?
At the Council chamber.
So it stands logic on its head, isn't it?
So, and then when they want to swear in the President, did he come to the Supreme Court to be sworn in? So why should the judiciary go to the...
So the commentary by that person who says the president...
We must look at this precedent.
So this is what the president was trying to describe. That the CJN was standing in
front of the president.
And it was just like that above. And this is not this only president.
It's not the only president.
This has
been the tradition. And it is time now.
And you see the CJN shaking up there.
And I've been looking at the president as if the president is the almighty.
Yeah, so the person was making inference and saying, look, this is the head of the executive. This is the head of judiciary. These are arms of government. They have coordinate powers. They are not.
I don't even agree with you that they have coordinate power. The only arm of government that has license to decree that somebody should die is the judiciary. The president cannot do so. For me, the most important arm of government is the judiciary. Because when there is a dispute today, when you talk about the rule of law, who interprets Nigerian constitution, when the president and the attorney general went to the Supreme Court, they were told in America, you heard about the Rio case that has just been decided by the court. So in all civilized society, the judiciary is de facto. But in our own society, the judiciary is being looked like they are beggars. When you buy what is their entitlement, governors and some other persons, I'm not talking about it. Look at the totality of judiciary. In fact, when I wrote the other time, a learned jurist of impeccable character say in some states, some chief judges are like judicial tigers, terrorizing their brother judges and asking for unmerited favors from them. And let me tell you, no chief judge is more important than the other judges in the court. It's just simply that you have the privilege to become the head of the judiciary.
No, no, sir.
So my final advice to my Lord, Honorable Justice Areola, on this important matter is that let him carry all his brother judges along with him as he assumed duty. Whatever entitlement is there for them should be paid to them. Then he should look at the registry of the Supreme Court.
All right.
And for his work to be properly handled. Some matters are in the Supreme Court since God knows when. They are not listed.
All right.
He must look at the registry of the Supreme Court and the registry of all our courts.
Yeah.
He must look at the National Judicial Council. The National Judicial Council must not just backing, it must bite. Otherwise, people are fed up. People will write petition. The kind of format of how petition is to be written against judicial officers with oath, this number has discouraged something. Right. The same thing with the legal profession.
We're due for a break, but I must sincerely thank you so much for your industry and always the knowledge that you share on this program. And that's the reason why I always come to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shehu. I insist on being put on notice next time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mr. Jimmy. I don't take it for granted. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll take a break, everyone. And when we return, we'll look at what happened today in Imo State. The arrest and the parade of the alleged killer of Ahmed Gulak. The confessional statement gets us talking. They say politicians visit them in the bush. Find out. Everyone, let's turn our attention to what happened earlier today. The police seem to have made some inroads in finding out the killers of a former political advisor to former President Gulak, Jonathan Mr. Ahmed Gulak, who was murdered by a group of armed men on the 30th of May 2021 during a visit to Imo State. He was reportedly traced from his hotel room to the spot where he was killed around Umweze Ombiangu in Ingokbala local government area close to the Sam Umbakwe Airport Road in Owerri. What's interesting about this is the confession statement made by the alleged killer that politicians top politicians visit them in the bush. Let's get a feel of what this means, especially for the security in the southeastern region of the country, and perhaps 1 year later, finding out the face of those who have killed. I'm being joined by Mr. Kabiru Adamu. Thank you so much, Mr. Adamu, for joining us.
My pleasure, Hugh.
First and foremost, a year after Ahmed Gulak's alleged killer, being paraded by the police. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Quite interesting. First off, the period it took, and then the fact that an individual has been identified as a likely suspect. It speaks to the fact that at least the police has, that case is not a cold case. They are still looking into it. In what manner was the confession obtained? Will that confession stand the test of a competent court of jurisdiction? So those are the kind of things that came to my mind. Media reports of the confession by the suspect indicates a difference between what the police was mentioned during the media statement and what the suspect may have mentioned. So again, these are things that will probably come up during the prosecution if it reaches that case. All right.
Let's take a moment now. Let's let you know that the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, any moment from now will work. He is already in the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, where the Bank of Industry 5th edition of the National MSME Awards 2022 is taking place. We're live here for you at that moment. Of course, the program continues right on another stream of Channels Television. Stay with us right here. Let's continue our conversation now with Mr. Kabiru Adamu. So now the thing is, the confession has been being made.
Yep.
And those are the fact that, look, some politicians who are allegedly sponsoring these elements come into the bush to give them items, money, and give them instructions. What implication does that have for the security in Southeast?
So there is no part of the country where the issue of the politicization of insecurity has not emerged. In fact, we had a time last year where the president, during a speech, alluded to the fact that security has been politicized. Now, in terms of implication, we're going into the 2023 elections. Those that allegedly are sponsoring these non-state actors, what is their objective? Are they doing it to provide security for their own objective, or are they doing it to destabilize the current political arrangement within the state in order to use it for their campaign, or are they doing it in order to show people that this particular government is not able to function? So whatever the case is, if we pick the last scenario I gave, they're going to use it for the electioneering. In other words, this current administration has not been able to provide security. We would provide security. So there are several implications depending on what angle we look at it. What I think is paramount is the fact that they are able to do it without any consequences. It leads to an environment where more people would go into that, funding insecurity in order to use it as a weapon to achieve political objectives. And that's dangerous for any country.
Because the reason why this is very fundamental, the issue of the sponsors and the collaborators of this element is the fact that we've heard many times over that politicians are using this element to destabilize the region. Now, how difficult is it to name and shame these guys that are sponsoring them? The same we hear about Boko Haram. Boko Haram are sponsored by some element, highly placed elements in the society. How difficult is it to trail and capture the identities of sponsors if they're actually politically exposed persons?
The answer to that is intelligence. If the intelligence apparatus of the state is working effectively and efficiently, it should be able to identify these individuals. And not only identify them, gather compelling evidence and present that compelling evidence to the political actors so that the political actors would issue the necessary directive. And I think that is where the issue is. Even where the intelligence actors are able to gather this evidence, sometimes the possibility that perhaps for political correctness, the politicians would not act on that intelligence. But as far as I know, the intelligence community within Nigeria gathers those type of information and makes it available to the political class. Now, would it be in the interest of the political class to act on that intelligence? Those are areas that unfortunately is not within the remit of a public discussion. But bottom line, the answer to your question is an intelligence, effective intelligence.
We've heard a few times that there are confessional statements. Is it that you cannot use a confessional statement to announce what these suspects have said in a criminal proceeding, or is it that the police naturally are waiting for a judgment delivered in the court before they can make those calls?
That I think is a question that should be answered by a lawyer. But from a security point of view, there are certain things. How was the evidence obtained? What other evidences have been gathered to corroborate that confession by the suspect? Those are things that would be presented in a competent court of jurisdiction. But from a security point of view, beyond the confession, what other evidence is there?
Because the big question here, Mr. Adamu, is you are one person that does a lot of research. You put your nose to the ground to find out exactly what is happening. And sniffing all of this information, trying to wrap one's head around what exactly is going on, is in the heart of the fact that the federal government has said it repeatedly that they have a list of terror funders in the country. And so Nigerians have said, bring this list, name these people. Again, we're hearing that in the Southeast region, where a lot of people think that, look, what is happening there is uncalled for: beheading of human beings, killing, gruesome murder of people, and very, unprintable things that happen in that region of the country. And when these are linked to pressings, that's the reason why one would be wondering, why is it difficult for intelligence to be able to give us a clue to these people so that at the end of the day, they can be named and shamed and stopped?
In my honest opinion, I do not think it's difficult for intelligence to provide that kind of information. It's very likely that that information has already been provided. But perhaps the question is, why is that information not being acted upon? A sitting governor from the Southeast has repeatedly mentioned that what is happening there is political. And perhaps what happened today is a corroboration, or on the 20th of June, because we are told that that's when the suspect was arrested, is a corroboration of that statement by that governor. Now, the next point, perhaps, that we can discuss is why is the Nigerian state finding it difficult to prosecute offenders? I think that is the whole issue.
Is there a criminal, process or what? Because the Administration of Criminal Justice Act has really helped. And in fact, you can have a pacier administration of justice in this country as soon as that happened from 2015 upwards. That was supposed to be a milestone in achieving justice in criminal proceeding. But then we have all of this is terror and terror prosecution different totally from general prosecution of criminal under criminal law.
As far as I know, if we look at the different components of the criminal justice system, none of them is working effectively. Let's pick law enforcement as a single unit of the criminal justice system. How many times you are a journalist, and I'm sure you visited law enforcement departments. How many of them have storage facilities or evidence rooms for gathering and keeping those evidences? How many of them obtain even these confessions that we're discussing at the moment in a manner that can be presented in a competent court of jurisdiction? So I think, yes, there is a difference, of course, between the prosecution of a criminal case as well as a terror case. The Terrorism Prevention Act would determine whether it's a terrorism act or not. But irrespective of what it is, the gathering of evidence to support your case, as in this instance, law enforcement agencies, I think is at the bottom of this matter. The case of Gulak in question, unfortunately, I think it's not wise to go further because, of course, the case is likely still in court. I'm
not sure it's in court yet.
Well, I hope. I hope it is.
They've not. I'm not sure they've charged those guys.
Those individuals.
They were just paraded today, so I'm not sure they've charged them. So,
as far as I'm concerned, previously there was an arrest of certain persons. That were linked to that case. Now, the question, what I was trying to bring up is the vehicle that was driven and that was used for that purpose, the gun that was used in shooting the deceased, the bullet shells from that gun, all of that, had they been gathered? Are they in an evidence room waiting for perhaps a time when it will be presented in court? So those are the issues that we need to discuss. How are these processes? In fact, do we even have a standard operating procedure for guiding the law enforcement agencies when it comes to matters
and even
like
the
this?
protection of crime scenes?
Exactly. We can
you can see what happened.
Exactly.
One will wonder that in other crimes, a standard crime scene would have been shielded, it would have been highly protected 24 hours of the day, so that you can extract. But the question that a lot of people will ask you, even when you protect those evidence and the environment, you have to do forensics on them.
Exactly.
Do we have what it takes? Because as far as I know, it's only one forensic lab that we have in this country, and it's in Lagos. The last time during the NSAS situation in Lagos, I understand that it was vandalized. So the question is that to obtain this evidence and do a forensics on them, do we even have the capacity?
In my experience, I think we have the capacity. Here in Abuja, I've had instances where I've invited the police to cases that I'm managing. As you know, I run a consultancy, and they've proven quite effective.
Is there a forensic lab here in Abuja?
As far as I know, yes.
Private, not government?
No, government.
In Abuja?
As far as I know. What the condition of that forensic lab is, I don't know. But like I said, I've invited the police to cases, and I've seen them conducting forensic investigation.
So because what you do in a forensic evaluation or investigation is to compare identities of criminals or participants in a criminal environment and use their biometrics and the data as against the evidence and match it. So the question is, do we even have data?
So that is the beginning point.
Yeah.
How the integrity of the data that we have. We do have data, but what is the integrity of that data?
Yeah.
How much of the population population of this suspects, quote unquote, because of course it's not every individual, has been captured. These are issues and questions that I think would help our criminal justice system, and perhaps therein lies the answer to the inability to prosecute individuals. But separate from your initial question, the naming and perhaps even helping Nigerians understand who these individuals are. Because if we're going to get the buy-in of Nigerians in supporting, especially our counterterrorism strategy, Nigerians need to understand who these individuals are. If there is compelling evidence, for instance, that someone has supported, in this instance, non-state actors who are doing the dastardly things that we've talked about in the Southeast and several other parts of the country, I think by now those persons should be revealed to Nigerians so that every Nigerian can say and support the system to say, okay, that individual was seen in a particular part of the country. That this is what it makes it difficult for that individual to operate. It makes it difficult for that individual to get the kind of support they're currently getting at the moment. But if Nigerians are left in the dark like we currently are, then unfortunately, supporting the counterterrorism strategy becomes difficult.
In prosecuting criminal offenses in this country, the bad leg or the Achilles of that process is investigation. And it's also stemmed from lack of credible data to be able to pursue that investigation or prosecution. Now, you see what the governor of Ondo State did is immediately asked all public and private institutions to install CCTV cameras. Now, we've seen how this is being used in prosecution in other climes, in the UK, in France, in even the US and Germany, and the UAE. In fact, UAE sometimes you are almost not aware. In the Dubai airport, for example, the cameras are so much that they captured you. In fact, if they notice anything within the first 1 hour, anything you see, they will swoop on you, and you may not you would probably not know that they're monitoring you. Now, the question is, how do we get to that level? Because we need to, because it will have been easier if there are street cameras that are captured these guys and trailed where they went, because it takes a long time to be able to track them. 4 hours, 3 hours after these criminal elements have left town on motorbikes, we're still looking for them. So if you had all of these gadgets, monitoring, and real time, you're able to follow them, it's probably be easy. Where do we start from?
Our surveillance capabilities as a country would need to be enhanced. And surveillance has different components. Time will not allow us to go into the whole details. When you speak of surveillance, it's just one aspect of a security layer. In my honest opinion of researching security in Nigeria, studying it, we don't deploy security in the layers that is usually advised. So as an example, if an executive governor says CCTV should be installed, we're talking of just one layer of security. The moment that layer is breached, what happens? You reach the target. Mm-hmm. But if you want an effective security, you have to deploy at least in those 3 layers or 4 layers. The layer to detect, which perhaps the surveillance capabilities can do. So you have a database, the picture of an individual is seen, it's matched with that database, and the name and the background of that individual pops up. He's a terrorist, he's a non-state actor, he's whatever. And then the law enforcement agencies would go after him. The second component would be to deny. So the person has been seen. Let me use your premises as an example. You do have a gate, you have security guards. They are able to deny an average criminal from coming in because, I mean, they are protected, of course. And then, of course, the last one is to delay that possibility. Imagine the several layers of protection before they reach us in the studio there. So that's a simple example.
And the response time also.
That's the last one, the response time. So every good security arrangement will have to have at least these 4 layers of security. The reason why I brought this up to you is, even if you have good surveillance capabilities, which, by the way, we don't have, then we also need to talk about the 3 other aspects of security. The Ministry of Digital Economy and its arm, NCC, can play a critical role in this regard. A lot is happening in the digital space, a lot. You referenced the fact that I have a consultancy. We use what we call open source intelligence. It's called OSINT. The quantity of intelligence that you can get from OSINT is so much. And if we use that ministry, deploy the capabilities of that ministry effectively, There's so much that we can
Is
do
our
into this
satellite
world.
still working?
That's another surveillance capabilities. As far as I know, no, it's not working. Because if it were working, the scenario...
There was a time that they said it was even lost in orbit.
I think it has a tenure, and that tenure probably would have ended. There was a time...
Hosted by China.
Yeah, exactly, and we have to pay them for their services, whatever.
I think it was the initial 10 years or thereabout.
So,
that's a major problem. America remotely monitored and executed an operation by a team of a specialized force that evacuated one of his citizens on the shores, on the territory of Nigeria that was kidnapped, I think, in Niger, Chad Republic.
Showing what you saw
is
the end result of an intelligence-led operation. That's what we saw. Now, before that particular extraction, before that particular extraction, the quantity of intelligence that was gathered is one that perhaps if we start to talk about it, it will give us an indication of the value of intelligence in any operation.
Because, security experts would describe in vivid terms that American satellites will peak as much as the color of the dress.
Apart from satellite, you would have human intelligence. I am almost certain whatever they pick up from these satellites or surveillance capabilities that they have, it will be corroborated by human intelligence somewhere.
Before they deploy.
Before they deploy. And they would also weigh the consequences. Because remember, by acting in the manner they act, they would have destroyed a very critical source for them in that region. So it's the value of that life, that American, as an example, what that source that they would have destroyed, quote unquote, by that action. So there are several layers that we need to put in place to get it right. It's not in my place to denigrate the action of any individual, perhaps because he has recommended one thing, but we have to look at the whole picture. And I would always insist, getting our people involved, getting their buy-in, supporting our security operations is the way to go.
Right. I probably would like us to anchor on this note, because I was speaking with someone and he said, mere looking at a television picture of a crime scene in Nigeria either puts our security agencies as a laughingstock in the Committee of Nations.
Simple. The case of Evans is an example of that. They were hugging him, they were holding his phones, taking pictures with them, in the process destroying evidence. Where are we today? How many years down the road has he been prosecuted?
Because America is a home of plea bargain. Because and I always tell people, if you show a criminal an evidence too vivid, he will plea a bargain.
Simple.
Because he will tell you that with all this evidence, there is nowhere to run to.
And in the process, you would have saved taxpayers' money.
Yes, and the time and the
and even gathered more evidence.
Yeah, and we'd even tell you his collaborators, and that will help you.
So even the case that we're discussing, if that had been done, as an example, perhaps we'd have gotten a bigger picture and arrested bigger fishes. And
I hope that, in the evidence they're gathering, they are able to sweep on, because as much as they've arrested this guy, don't think that his collaborators are still in the bush. They probably changed location.
It's too late. They put it out in the media. Everybody in the world is aware.
One thing that we're paramount
they're not going to wait.
Absolutely. Is that Imo State, Southeast Nigeria, and Nigeria at large is safe. Hopefully. That's the essence.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cabral.
My pleasure.
Always very insightful to talk to you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's the end of the show tonight, everyone. I'm sure Akibale. Bye-bye.